Hey, my crafting friends, are you looking for easy, rustic Christmas craft ideas that you can make right at home and that are oh so budget friendly? Then come craft with me. I'm Sarah, and welcome to my channel, Primrosely Prims. If you haven't done so already, I hope you'll consider hitting that subscribe button and crafting with me again, and let's get right into these Christmas DIYs. For this first DIY, I'm going to be using the smaller of these two unfinished wood trays. I found these at my local Goodwill for $3.99 for both, but you can find these at any craft store. I know Hobby Lobby has them. I've even seen them at the Dollar Tree in the Dollar Tree Plus section, and they're pretty inexpensive. I'm going to give my smaller tray here a good coat of my Waverly Antique Wax that I get from Walmart, and you know I love my Waverly Antique Wax. But I'm just going to use my little sponge brush here and just go over this, wiping off the excess, just to use this wax as more as a stain. And I'm going to give it one good coat all over, including the inside of the tray, the bottom, all around. I'm using this little sponge brush, and I usually don't like to use these sponge brushes. They tend to take me longer to do projects when I use these because the little tip bends, and I don't know, they just I'm just not a fan of using them, but I had picked this one up to use today, and so darn it, I'm going to follow through with it. But they are nice because you can use this side to wipe off the excess wax. So as you can see, I'm just going through it, doing the front, back, all of it, all around. And it doesn't cover super great. It's the cheaper pine, so that's not a big deal, because next we're going to take our Waverly Antique Wax in the color white, and I'm just going to start dry brushing this right over top of the antique wax. And I said white antique wax, and I apologize, I meant white chalk paint. And I'm just lightly dry brushing this. I want to give this kind of a whitewash look, or like maybe a tray that was once white, but a lot of the paint has just wore off over the years, and all this weathered wood is showing through. And there's some sections of white that's a little darker than others, and it just looks real weathered. It just looks like the paint's really faded. It just looks like a little antique type box that's been around. But I'm going to go all around, including the inside of this and the sides. And my bottom coat of my antique wax, I let this dry the majority of the way, but not completely. It was still slightly tacky, and I left this slightly tacky so that, as you can see, as I'm putting this white paint over top, the antique wax underneath slightly blends with it. So it dulls down that white a little bit. It mixes in with it and just blends. So as I keep going over, as you can see with my brush, the antique wax underneath that's still slightly tacky is mixing in with that white paint and giving it that faded white, whitewashy kind of look, like the paint is just worn off. And I'm just going to keep going over this, blending my paint in until it looks good to me. If you don't like this older worn look, then hey, you could paint this tray whatever color you wanted, or just leave it stained. Once my tray is dry, I'm going to go in with this garland. Now, this is one of the 9-foot just unlit garlands that you can get at Walmart. This was $3.97 when I got it last year, but I've had it. They're still under $5 this year, and they are great for just having as fillers, for pine fillers and projects. I always buy several of these each year just to keep in my craft stash for that very reason, to cut apart and use. So I'm going to fill out my little garland here and start fitting it in my little tray. And I'm going to start at the edges, and I'm just going to start working it right around the edges, bending that wire around and bringing it right through the center. I just want my little box to be nice and full of pine. And these garlands aren't super full, so you can easily go down, find your wire here, and they snip really easy with wire cutters. Just be sure to take and fold those wire ends over those so that your little pine branches don't start falling out of that center wire and coming apart. And I'm just going to take and fluff out my little pine here so that it looks good and my box is full. And hey, if you're enjoying this so far, I hope you'll consider hitting that like button. And if you haven't done so already, I hope you'll consider hitting that subscribe button and crafting with me again in the future. Now, once I have my pine all flipped out, I'm just going to take these little pine cones that I have and I'm just going to fit them in and around my pine, all around the edges. And of course, if you don't have pine cones on hand, you could always look outside. You might have some laying right in your yard, or of course, you can purchase these just about any time, anywhere this time of year. Some are even the cinnamon scented, which can make your project smell really good too. Now, next I want to take my Waverly white chalk paint and I want to add just a little bit of faux flocking to this. I want my pine just to look like a dusting of snow as fall right on top of it and just giving a little bit of white coating just to the edges. So I'm just going to lightly dry brush my white chalk paint right onto my pine here. This is a really easy way to add some flocking to your projects without having all the mess of, well, the fall flocking. This is what my usual preferred method to add flocking to my projects. And I'm even going to add some to my little pine cones here. I just want them to look snow-tipped, like the snow just fell right on the edges here, and give them a little touch of white. And I'm just lightly dragging my brush just right down the sides, just so it catches just the tips. See how pretty that's looking? Next, I'm just going to take these 2 pillar candles that I have. You could use any kind of candles that you had on hand. You could use battery operated one. Dollar Tree has them. Just whatever kind of candles that you prefer to use. And I'm going to take and I'm just going to dig down in my little pine here and add these right here to the middle. And just fluff my pine and my pine cones right around those candles so that they're nestled in nice and snug and look pretty. Next, I'm going to take this little jingle bell pick that I had, and I'm going to borrow some bells off this, and I use the term borrow loosely. I'm actually just going to steal them off here because I won't be giving them back. But I'm going to just pull my little rusty bells right off this, and I'm going to wire them. Wrap the wire right around some of my pine, and I'm just going to mix these in around my little arrangement here. Now you can find the rusty bells too at Factory Direct. Amazon has them. So if you don't have a little pick to steal from like I do, you can get them off there instead. And you'll notice I'm not hot gluing any of my stuff into my box, and I'm not doing that so that as when winter ends and say spring arrives, if I want to replace the pine with maybe boxwood and lavender, I can reuse this box and the candles to make this a spring centerpiece instead of a winter. And yes, because I never said we're making a cute little centerpiece here that's perfect for maybe a coffee table or a, say, a little kitchen island table or something. But I wanted to add a little bit of color. So I'm taking this little red pitberry pit that I had, and I'm just once again pulling it apart here and sticking these just the little bits of red berries in and around this arrangement. You could also get some of the red berries from Dollar Tree. They have multiple different kinds, even some that have some faux flocking on them. That would also be really cute to use instead of the pit berries if you don't have any. And this one had a little busted berry on the end, and I'm just going to snip that right off there. And And here is what our super easy, super budget friendly little centerpiece looks like. I think this turned out beautiful. It fits perfectly on my coffee table. It also fits perfectly right on my little breakfast nook table. And it can be used not only through Christmas, but all winter long. This next DIY, I am just going to be taking this regular old little wreath hanger that I get at the Dollar Tree. I'm sure you've seen these. They're just plain, and I just wanted to make this look a little more primitive. I wanted to have something cute, a cute way to hang my wreaths on my doors. So I'm just going to take some of this fabric. This is some black and gingham and homespun fabric, and you've probably seen me use this quite a bit over the fall. And I still had a little bit left over. So I'm just ripping this into about 1-inch strips. And I'm going to add some hot glue right to the inside edge of my little door hanger here. And I'm going to leave it hanging over, as you can see, just a little bit, 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch or so. And I'm going to add my glue here to the fabric and then wrap it down, glue it right down over that edge, just like you see me doing here. It covers that edge nice and neat. So you see your fabric's going to look kind of bent over like that right at the top. But it gives you the perfect way to just start wrapping. Because, yep, that's what we're going to do. We're going to take our homespun and we are going to wrap this little door hanger in our fabric. Now, if you don't want to use fabric, you could use ribbon, you could use whatever colors, you could make this a straight Christmas themed with, red and black, whatever suits your fancy. You could do these, and these are so easy to make, and you could make multiple ones for different seasons. But I just wanted to do kind of a general all season hanger that I can keep out year round. Kind of a little primitive looking hanger. So we're just going to wrap, wrap, wrap all the way to the top here. And oh, I ran out. So I'm just going to give this a little hot glue, glue it down, and then add another strip, and then just keep right on wrapping. Now, when you get to the top here, you don't want to wrap that part. Don't do that because that's the part that goes over your door. And if you wrap fabric, it can make it a little thick so that it drags in your door frame. And we don't want that. It can make it not fit very well or your door not to shut quite right. So just take it right here to the top and hot glue it down. Super simple. This is such an easy, fun project, an easy way to just dress up these Dollar Tree door hangers. Now, I wanted to add just a little primitive star to mine. This is about a 5-inch. It's one of the black barn stars. You can find these. Amazon has them. Once again, factory direct. Different places you can find, but you could use any kind of embellishment here that you wanted, even like the little wood ones from the Dollar Tree. You could even paint and put on here instead. But I'm just going to take my wire and put the little hole that is on the top of my star. And I'm going to use a combination of wire and hot glue to ensure that this star stays in place. So I'm just going to take my wire, wrap it tightly around the top. But as you can see, the star kind of still flops around. So that's where the hot glue comes right in. I'm just going to add a little bit under the tip here and right at the bottom where it meets this door hanger just to keep it in place. And between the two, it should stay put. super easy, super simple, super budget friendly. So we just had our first snowfall of the year, and I just wanted to take a second to share a little bit of this with you because I always get so excited the first snow of the year. It is just so beautiful and it's so peaceful just watching the snowflakes fall and really just helps get me into the holiday spirit and it's so relaxing and I just wanted to share a little bit of that magic with you all. For this last DIY, I am going to be using these little fabric gift bags. I found these at my Dollar Tree. They were still $1.25 somehow, which is unusual because usually the holiday stuff they've raised. But these were still $1.25 for three, and I thought they were so cute. They say holiday candy on them. And I knew exactly what I wanted to do with these. So I'm going to start off by stuffing these. And I'm just using some plastic bags to stuff in here to fill these out. You could also just use some polyfill stuffing, whatever you have on hand, just to stuff these up. And I'm going to be using these candy canes, the ones I said last week that I'd be using in upcoming projects. Yep, here they are. And another little piece of this pine off of that garland that I used off the last one. And I'm just going to cut a small section of this garland off and fluff it all up. Be sure to twist that bottom wire down so that your pine doesn't slide off of that center wire there. But I'm going to take this pine and I'm just going to add it right down into my bag. This is another really easy DIY. It is perfect to stick on a tiered tray or even on a shelf. But I'm going to take these little pipe cleaner candy canes that I've made, and if you missed that video, I will link it down below. They're super, super easy. And I'm just going to add two of these right down into my little candy bag here, facing opposite directions right on top of that pine. I'm going to add this down there, and then using the drawstrings that come right on the bag, I'm going to just cinch this shut and tie it in a knot right here in the front. Now, I want my bag to kind of have that primitive rustic look to match the candy canes. If you don't like that look and want to leave it as it is, you absolutely could. But yep, I want it to be grungy and primitive. So I'm just going to take my little sponge brush here, that of my Waverly Antique Wax, and I'm just going to very, very lightly go over this bag and add this antique wax. It's just going to give that little bit of grunge, aged look to this little canvas bag. You could also tea stain these as well, but I'm just going to take and rub this antique wax right over it. There'll be some sections a little darker than others, but hey, you know, when something's old, some sections get a little more dark than others, right? Like I said, if you're not a fan of the grunging, if you prefer it to stay clean the way it was, just skip this step. Now, I'm also going to take my little rusty wire here, and I'm just going to make a little hanger right here on the back because this could be used not only to pop on a shelf or a tiered tray, but you add a little hanger right here, and you could also add it to a Christmas tree as an oversized ornament. And the wire just pops really easy through the bag, and there you have this little hanger. So easy, so budget friendly, and oh so cute. Leave me a comment and let me know which one of today's was your favorite and if you think you might try one of these. So that is it for today's video. I really hope you enjoyed today's DIYs. If you did, don't forget to drop down and give this video a like. Maybe share it with your friends. And if you haven't done so already, I hope you'll consider hitting that subscribe button so that you can craft with me again in the future. It's completely free. And if you hit that little notification bell, YouTube will notify you every time I upload a video. That way you don't miss out on any fun, future, budget-friendly DIYs for around the home. So until next time, God bless and happy crafting.